Oh, I made a mistake. The video before last, I described that there might be ruins of human-held farmsteads directly east of Texta. This is wrong. After rereading what I had previously written, it turns out those are southwest and were recorded 600 years ago. To the east is where settlers came from 800 years ago. If I make a mistake, you can be damn sure you're going to hear about it. It's better to be corrected than keep being wrong, even if I'm correcting myself. You should remember that as something good to live by. As said, the available information of what lies east of Texta, directly east, is 800 years out of date. Our explorers in this direction therefore have no real tangible expectations, but that there was once an elf kingdom some considerable but unknown distance away. As they head out through the gate, 4 to 6 of them, provisioned for a long trek, carrying letters of marque and introduction, and with a wagon pulled by 2 sturdy goats, they can at least take solace in that the weather will be reasonably stable, staying on the line between the temperate and subtropical. The brush and tall grass are dense here, and remain so for several weeks before reaching low rolling hills and the edges of forest, which spans to the horizon. Within the woodlands, as with those who went northeast, they find wildlife, lone cottages, occasional small farms, and even a few burgeoning villages along wide, slow-moving rivers that generally flow to the south. The villages seem to be centered where bridges had been built over the rivers. The ground through these woods is crossed by trackways in various directions. Some of these waterways seem to meander more to the east or the west in the distance southward. Along one such river, about 3 months of travel into the woods, the party finds an actual town. The place is called Skogar, by the few hundred humans, elves, gnomes, halflings, and orcs who live here. They hunt, they fish, they farm what little land they have cleared, both for crops and for grazing livestock. Chiefly horses and cattle, which are unnervingly large to our small folk explorers. The townsfolk are led by what they call a leet and a reeve. The leet operates a mill run by a water wheel and has some sway over crop farmers. The reeve seems to be the one who negotiates between the herders, the livestock farmers. Neither have any official capacity, but that they are the ones the common folk look to for advice on intervention in deciding arguments as fairly as possible. They are very interested in learning of distant lands and of the possibility to initiate trade in directions other than along the rivers. And they are more than willing to offer their local news and history in trade for what can be told to them of both Texta and the lands that lie between the two places. They're especially interested in metal and possibly quarried stone if transport for such could be managed. They have no access to mines within their realms of influence, and they're forced to pay ridiculously high prices for any iron or steel that comes their way. Usable stone for construction, likewise, is difficult to find this far into the forest. Thus, it is expensive to trade for with the lands to the north or south along the rivers. In discussing history, the explorers find that this town is only about 200 years old. It was founded by survivors of a long-fought war between elves, orcs, and humans over who had right to the lands further to the east. Some of the elves in town remember the end of that war when all three forces, each one facing and fighting against two enemies, fell to a plague. It was then the few survivors looked at the devastation of decades of war and decided to abandon their old ruins and head west. After exchanging maps and information, our explorers continue to the east for another month through the forest before reaching an unnatural clearing, filled with broken stone and the smell of very old decay. Surely after 200 years, whatever disease had ended those decades of war was long since gone, right? Digging through the rubble and the ruins, they were able to surmise the numbers of the dead to at least some small degree. Thousands of skeletons in varying states of disarray. Some few had been buried and given gravestones, but most lay where they fell. All ages, all races, treated equally by the disease. The clearing is more than huge by any measure. Perhaps 50 or so miles across, where no trees are wont to grow, only moldering mosses and some patches of grass. Come here. You don't have to cry. Come here. No? Okay. Moldering mosses and some patches of grass. At one end, to the north, is the rotted remnant of dry stone walls and palisades. On the southwest edge of the trees is a stone and mortar keep smashed halfway back to the ground. On the easternmost edge, shattered glass, carved stone, buttresses cracked in two, and the broken bases of walls. Throughout all of these lay bones with rusted steel weapons and armor. Our explorers and sages record everything with meticulous care for another 2 months at that site. But upon seeing this place, much as the townsfolk they met so recently, they are loath to retrieve or salvage anything they find here, no matter how useful or needed it might be. Perhaps someday, either in desperation or long after the horror of memory has passed, the folk of Skogar will have the heart to access this source of stone and metal. As with the last time, this isn't really well suited as it's not a well suited piece of lore to run as a campaign. It's pretty depressing, but it's pretty depressing by the end of it. I can see the idea of characters from Skogar as a one-shot or short campaign traveling to the ruins to salvage what they can, maybe even finding lost treasures or awakening some long-sleeping monster or undead. Maybe they find bugbears, tribal goblins, or kobolds have moved in and taken over the ruins. But the 6-month sages and explorers from Texta wouldn't really have reason to do that. So that's the end of part 3, expanding the world around our hermit kingdom. The map is going to look pretty interesting if we ever get around to drawing it. As always, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think, make suggestions, give me ideas of what to include in the other 5 directions, and I'll see what I can do about it, and I'll talk to you next time.
fan running in the background, so I apologize for the noise, but recent upgrade to the studio from a $5 tripod from the dollar store to what was a $10 broken tripod from thrift store. And where it was broken, the top was snapped off. Said to replace the top here with a top off a broken one of these $5 ones, which is still sitting on the desk there. So let's see if that improves my film quality any.